Hello and welcome back to my RC channel. I'm Andy RC and today I'm going to be taking a look at the Jumper T12. So this is the OpenTX version of the Jumper transmitter, and as you can see the colour has changed. So previously on the channel I checked out the T8SG Plus and that one was kind of like a garish yellow, and this one actually looks white on the camera, but it's not. It's a very creamy colour. It's quite deceiving when looking at it through the camera screen. But yeah, the T8SG Plus came with Deviation TX as the firmware, and it also had an OLED screen and Hall Effect gimbals. This one has got normal gimbals, although they feel the same as Hall Effect. Of course, Hall Effect don't have any contact, so they won't wear out. But yeah, the feel is exactly the same. You can change the stick tension. I've switched this to mode 1, of course, and that was much easier to do than the T8SG Plus, because I had to file a piece of plastic down. This time it was just a straight swap, so very easy there. So yeah, this one has got a backlight on it rather than OLED. But I think with the T8SG they came out with a V2 of that as well that didn't have the Hall Effect and had the backlight as well. So I think they've done that to keep the price down, and that's what this is. It's a budget transmitter. So why do we need an OpenTX version? Well, surprisingly, there was so much interest in this cheap transmitter working with Crossfire, and the fact is that the T8SG Plus has Deviation TX and it doesn't support Crossfire despite the conflicting information that's out there. Deviation TX only supports PPM as an output, so if you use Crossfire with that transmitter, you'll get PPM latency, and Crossfire is all about the CRSF protocol between the transmitter and the module, and you're losing out with that. So they've come up with an OpenTX version, and it's quite a bit different actually compared to the T8SG, and the biggest difference is it's actually using a module. So if we take this out here, this is the JP4-in-1, and it's a multi-protocol module, and it comes with this dipole antenna here that just screws in there. And yeah, you can update it through USB, but there's actually no internal RF on this whatsoever. So you are reliant on using this, and of course, your Crossfire slots straight in there, and because it's using OpenTX and it's also got the right components in there to support Crossfire, then it does do Crossfire. So, we have got another option there, a cheap option. And yeah, I think what's surprising to me about this, though, is that, you have to pile a lot of money into Crossfire. So I always thought if you've got Crossfire money, then you've got X9D money. So I don't know, there's a demand out there for it though, so here it is. So one thing I like about OpenTX as well, this is a biased thing, but I know it better, but I do think that it's easier to do 3-position switches in OpenTX, and I'm not going to go through all of that today because there are countless videos of that. The only thing that has changed with this, again, it's similar to the Xlite really, is the way that these buttons are controlled. OpenTX in here is the same. So we have got two position switches here, and then these are all 3-position here. And we have got some sliders there as well. We have got a dummy for the antenna on the top there. We have got the trainer port, and we've got the USB on the top. And then if we look underneath here, it comes with the same battery bay for 4 AA batteries. So yeah, it's just on a little JST thing there, but it's in pretty tight with my batteries there. So you can actually take the screws out and have a little bit more space, just like you could before. But yeah, that just goes in there. So I got 4 AA rechargeables in there, and that just clips in like so. And then we got all of our trimmers here, and then we have got the on button. And before I switch it on, you get given a neck strap, and maybe that is something that you will like with this compared to the Xlite, that it has the neck strap. I know there are a lot of pinchers out there that rely on the neck strap, although there's an adapter for the Xlite for a neck strap. But there you go. I think actually Crossfire, though, with this being a proper JR module, be easier to fit on this than the Xlite. But yeah, you get that, you get a USB cable, you get some spare parts actually. So we've got a spring in there, and we've got like a couple of these plastic parts, I guess, in case they break. That's a really nice touch for the price, I think. We've got the manual, and the manual doesn't really give anything away. It shows you how to set up a module. So one thing that it doesn't detail is what this does here. Now I would assume that it's got loads of positions and each one of those is a different protocol. However, this is going to work through OpenTX. So I've kept it in the 0 position and it lets me do the changes in OpenTX. But oddly enough, when you turn it on, it's in the internal RF mode, but it doesn't have one. So you have to turn off the internal RF and then turn on external RF, and then we've got this mult option here, so for multi, and then you can go through all of your different protocols, just like you can in Deviation TX. And as a guess, when new models come out, as they often do, Jumper are gonna have to maybe update the firmware for this, because with Deviation TX it's done through Deviation TX, isn't it? So yeah, it's a funny one, this one, because it's cheap, but actually, it's not doing anything different than the X9D, except being smaller and cheaper, really. But you can get an X9D, have one of these modules, have OpenTX, and do all of that, just at a little bit more of a premium price, I guess. And to turn it on, we have this button here. You have to hold it down. Now, what happens when you turn it on is you get this noise coming through here. So it's got a speaker, and that's something that the T8 SG doesn't have. And it's got like a slight whirring noise coming through to it, and that's always on. So if you turn the sound down, it's just always a slight buzz there. It's not too bad at the moment. However, when you plug Crossfire in, can you hear that buzzing noise there? That could get quite annoying, and we'll go for a fly with it a little bit later. But yeah, it seems like either this is defective or we're stuck with that. Now the speaker, I've had a look at it, it's on a little clip, you can detach it, and I don't use sounds. By the way, if you do want to use the sounds, you do have to have your own micro SD card, and that's in there as well. So yeah, I missed that. There, we've got a slot in there, and I think if you use the Q7's files, then that will work. Another thing you have to do when you get this is you have to change the voltage, because it seems like nothing has been done. So this is your cancel button here, and if we long press this one, it goes into the transmitter setup, and I'm finding this really unintuitive compared to the Taranis, but that's because I'm used to the Taranis. So this is how you go up and down like that, and you can see I've got all of the volumes there at 0, and it's making this noise. So it's like electrical noise that's coming through, so maybe some shielding or something like that needs to occur. I've changed it to TAER, and I've also changed the bottom voltage to 4 volts, and that is because it was set at like 8 volts. So there's a little alarm going off. There's haptic feedback in there as well, so there's a little motor that vibrates, and yeah, that's working fine. So that's your cancel button. Then these are the page buttons. So you see, I haven't got an SD card in here at the moment. You're going to want to calibrate your sticks for sure to make sure that they are center. So yeah, we can just go through. This is the page button, however that's not the page back button. It's a long press to go backwards. So yeah, it's a little bit strange, and you know, I've been using this for a while now and I can't quite get used to it. So I think to get into the model menu, it's a short press of that one. There we go, model menu. And then I think that becomes your page button. There you go. And then these are your up and down buttons. And then this is your enter button. So yeah, if we come down here, and I'll show you, I've got the internal module turned off, even though it doesn't have one, it was turned on, and I've got CRSF. So yeah, I don't know, it'd take me a bit of time to get used to that, but yeah, not as intuitive, I don't think, as the Q7 transmitter, but you know, I guess I can forgive it for that. Alrighty, so let's see what this thing is like with proper crossfire. Now, it is raining, but Google says it's not, so which is correct? So yeah, just like the Jumper Plus, it does take a little bit of getting used to the shorter stick throw compared to the Taranis, but this is the full crossfire protocol working. So this is my KISS Alien, and you can actually see I'm not getting the milliamps through, and I think that's because the ESCs aren't running the correct firmware. Yeah, and very similar to with the Xlite as well. I think because the stick throw is shorter, I'm more twitchy in the center. I mean, I'm a twitchy flyer anyways. But yeah. And these ESCs are only running one-shot 125, so it needs all of that updating, really. But I can fly with it, and it's working nicely. Can't really hear the buzzing from the speaker outside, but it's really windy here today, and I'm sure it's gonna come over on the camera because I can still hear it. But yeah, I like this. So, just as a side note, I have been working on this model, updating it, but I think the motors need switching out. These are the Luminaire 2206 2350 kV, and by today's standards a little bit gutless, and with the one-shot 125 it's a little bit of, well, did you see that movement now? Look at that. Is that one-shot 125 or is it the tune? I don't know. I need to do some work with it. Yeah, I think in general I like this transmitter. I think, you know, coming from the Taranis, the menus are a little bit odd, kind of counterintuitive, but if you're coming at it fresh, then it's probably not going to bother you. But yeah, I spent a little bit of time with this and struggled a little bit with the menus. There you go. Yeah, it works, and proper crossfire works. So that's pretty awesome. Anyways, I'm seeing drops of rain on the camera, which isn't great, so let's bring it in. So what is my final verdict? Well, I like it. Just one thing I noticed with the 4 AA batteries there, and if you're using the full crossfire, you know, they do take a lot of juice, so you know, you might want to power it externally. Otherwise, I think the batteries are going to go flat very quickly. And yeah, I don't know whether it's a defect with mine having the interference there, and I will update this video in the comments if that is the case, or if it's just what it does. But I think for the price, it is very decent, and if you are not bothered about crossfire, the noise of the speaker isn't bad at all, and it can be disconnected, so that's what I'm going to do, because I don't use speaker sounds anyways, because when I'm doing videos I don't like having noises going off and it distracting me. So I will put a link in the below if you wish to get one, and as always, thanks so much for watching. Please continue to subscribe. Cheers.